What's on, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Ross, I like games, and we are back with the final day of the Vault Tour. Everyone on day 3, day 2, depending how you look at it, had to go 5-1 or 6-0 in order to qualify. So we've got good players, we've got good decks, so settle down and enjoy a lovely round of lovely Keyforge action. Please do also remember that this is a video of a live stream which went out. So it's a live stream. It was done as a live stream. It was streamed live. So do please bear that in mind when watching. I'll be making reference to people in the chat and streaming and all of that. Just go with it. It's cool. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back with round 3 out of 5 from the Vault Tour today from Eindhoven. Yeah, first Vault Tour. Don't know where I was going with that one. On the left, we've got Ben Fox with his ridiculous Torch the Ponderously Immovable deck. And on the right, we've got Nacho Morcillo with Steel Gazelle, Hall Forest Keeper. Weirdly right, I searched for Hall Forest Keeper to find this deck. There's like 5 decks that have the phrase Hall Forest Keeper in. Ben Fox, this is one of the most ridiculous decks I've seen so far. He's got Dish Shadows Untamed. And in this, he's got a Rise to get all his creatures back, which is great. He's got double Ember Imp, the one that lets your opponent only play 2 cards each turn, which is ridiculous. And he's got double Shaffles. At the end of the turn, your opponent loses an Ember. They're both 2-power creatures with no elusive, but they're still redonk. Over in Shadows, he's got Bait and Switch, Relentless Whispers, as you would expect. He does have the Sting. Skip your Forge a Key step, you get all Ember spent by your opponent when forging keys, and you can sacrifice it when you like. And he's got double Seeker Needle. But over in Untamed, he's got Full Moon, an action for the remainder of the turn, gain 1 Ember each time you play a creature. Double Hunting Witch, each time you play another creature, gain 1 Ember. Double Nepenthe Seed, it's got an Omni ability, it's an artifact, you can sacrifice it and get a card from your discard pile back into your hand. And double Murmook, your opponent's keys cost +1 Ember. It's ridiculous. Over on the right with Nacho's deck, we got Dis, Logos, and Shadows. Dis, we do see Ember Imp and Control the Weak, Lash of Broken Dreams. Some really good disruption. In Logos, we don't have a library access, but we do have Time Traveler and Help from Future South. We have Scrambler Storm to stop your opponent playing actions, and double Fogify to stop your opponent using creatures. And then Shadows, we got Bait and Switch and double Routine Job. Steal an Ember and then steal an Ember for each copy of Routine Job in your discard pile. Double rare, we don't see that all that often. Okay, so they are the decks. Honestly, ladies and gentlemen, I am looking at Ben's deck here. I don't know, maybe it's just on paper. Oh no, wait, Ben went 6-0. He's one of the 3 players that went 6-0 going into the round. So he is currently sitting as an undefeated 8-0. He hasn't lost this weekend, ladies and gentlemen. And on paper, his deck looks utterly over the top ridiculous. Clearly also a very good player. Having said that, Nacho's sitting at a total of 7-1 this weekend, and he's certainly got a lot of good stuff going on in his deck as well. So let's be clear, ladies and gentlemen, we got 2 players. So starting off, we just see Overlord Grecking coming on from Nacho. After an enemy creature is destroyed fighting it, put that creature into play under your control. It is a 7-power creature. Of course, going first, you only get to play 1 card. So now we get a Murmook, a Dew Fairy, actual Dew Fairy, not Dust Pixie, I'm calling Dew Fairy, and a Witch of the Eye, which, like Nepenthe Seed, lets you get cards back. So just a nice simple boom, 3 untamed creatures go. And it's back over to Nacho's turn. So he's so he's going to destroy Murmook, and then Murmook comes into play for him. This is what's so cool about Overlord Grecking. He's just taken out Murmook, and now he gets to have the Murmook. Now, we see there he's playing one of his copies of Mind Barb. He plays 2 of them. And Mind Barb gives you an Ember bonus, and your opponent discards a random card from their hand. This is a fun turn from Nacho here. And he gets the Ember Imp down. So now he's stolen Ben's Murmook. So now his keys cost 1 more to forge as well. He's restricting Ben to playing 2 cards per turn. He's taken out one of his creatures. And he's gotten rid of a card from his hand. Now, it looks like the card he actually got rid of there was Free Fates that destroys the 3 most powerful creatures. One of the weird things about Ben's deck is just how many redonk 2-power creatures he's got. Double Ember Imp, 2 power. Double Shuffles, 2 power. Mamook is a 3 power, admittedly. Double Hunting Witch, 2 power. So it looks like he's reaping with both of his. Witch of the Eye gets Free Fates back. Oh, so that was a bad one to actually get rid of then. And he has got an artifact down. It looks like that is one of his 2 copies of Nepenthe Seed. Very nice. So what do we see from Nacho here? He's had 1 turn of Untamed, 1 turn of Shadows. Not doing very much at the moment. Oh. Overlord Grecking is busted. It says there's 8 damage on there at the moment. There is 6, taking down the Mermook and the Witch of the Eye. Obviously, Overlord Grecking only has 7. So yeah, we need to change that to a 6 quickly. Thank you very much. It's like they're listening to me. We then see a second copy of Mind Barb coming down. Discards a random card. Oh, please tell me it's Free Fates again. Oh, that would just be funny if he did it 2 turns in a row to the same card. That would amuse me, ladies and gentlemen. That would amuse me. So, that Overlord Grecking. Oh, wow. And just like that, Free Fates comes down, gets rid of Mermook, gets rid of Witch of the Eye, gets rid of Overlord Grecking, and now Nacho's just sitting there with an Ember Imp on the field. Now, it looks like Tentacus is down there. Tentacus says your opponent must pay you 1 Ember in order to use an artifact. Not relevant at the moment, but may well be relevant in the future if Nacho goes and gets any of his artifacts down. Oh, not much of a turn for Ben there. Now, we do see another card coming down from Nacho there. So he does get a Dextra, that looks like, which captures an Ember. And I believe, was that a Fogify he played? That might have been a Fogify he played. It's a little bit blurry. We'll have to wait and see, I suppose. Now, he does get a Skeleton Key down, because Phase Shift allows you to play a non-logos card. I believe that was Phase Shift, because he's certainly not playing any Wild Wormhole. So, not too bad, ladies and gentlemen. Not a bad turn. Still not enough Ember to be reaping. We're still a little way away from seeing our first key being forged. Absolute earliest time would be Ben's next turn. And as people do sometimes ask, happy to confirm that in Ben's deck, there is no key charge, there's regrowth, no key charge, no Chota Hazri, so both of these players are going to be going the traditional route. So we get a Dodger and an Urchin coming down. Urchin steals an Ember when it hits the field. So quite a slow start from Ben here. He's got a lot of very good cards in his deck, but Nacho, I mean, that turn 1 Overlord Grecking was awesome. That did a huge amount of good for him. But as it stands at the moment, oh, now here's a good one. Dimension Door. For the remainder of the turn, any Ember that would be gained from reaping is stolen from your opponent instead. Now that is definitely a Fogify. Gets you an Ember bonus, and your opponent cannot use creatures to fight next turn. There is another Fogify, so he definitely cannot use creatures to fight next turn. And checking, because he does indeed have 6 Ember. One of the cool little rules about Keyforge: when you have enough Ember to forge a key at the end of your turn, you must announce check so that your opponent is aware that you can forge a key next turn. So, we see a Dew Fairy reaping there. When you reap, you gain an Ember. And of course, you get the Ember from reaping, so double Ember. Looks like a Regrowth is coming down to get Witch of the Eye, a very powerful creature. The problem with Witch of the Eye is you just need to keep it in play. It's like Ember Imp and so many of these creatures. It's very weak, it's a free power. Mermook comes down as well to increase the cost of forging keys. So no key being forged, because it costs 7 to forge a key now, and you've only got 6. And they're very power weak creatures. They're not powerful creatures, but they're so good. So it kind of forces your opponent to have to expend resources taking them down, because if they don't, they're just going to get hurt. That Witch of the Eye next turn, hey, you reap, hey, you get a card back as well as your Ember. That's really good, ladies and gentlemen. That Witch of the Eye is great. And there's a decent battle line going on for Ben here. Of course, the story for Ben now is, can he go through the entire tournament undefeated? He went 6-0, I don't know if it's day 1 or day 2. Oh, now someone has pointed out in the chat, it looks like Ben actually played more than 2 cards with an Ember Imp out. Looks like he played Witch of the Eye and he played Regrowth, and I think he played Urchin as well. I don't know if any of the judges are listening, but it looks like Ben actually just used too many cards with an Ember Imp in play. I'm not 100% sure, and it looks like they're stopping, so I think they have realised. I believe he played a Regrowth to get Witch of the Eye back and then played it. And I believe he also played an Urchin on his last turn. So I believe that's 3 cards he played. Or it might have been a Murmook instead. And I believe that's 3 cards played with an Ember Imp out. And you can see them having a look. Good catch in the chat there, ladies and gentlemen. Apparently my laugh sounds like Kippers. I don't know what that means, but I'm cool with it. So as Modi pointing out there, Judge is at the table. It is being looked at. Thank you for catching that in the chat, guys. There's so much going on in this game. I don't know how many of you have tried. I have tried commentating Pokemon, I've commentated Transformers, I've commentated this. This is by far the hardest card game I've commentated. It's such a difficult game because there's so many interactions. Because one of the great things about Keyforge, it lets you do things that you cannot allow in other card games. Because in other card games, you're constantly thinking, people are making their own decks, don't give them a broken combo. But in Keyforge, you set up the algorithm to avoid the broken combo, and then you're golden. And you can just play these ridiculous cards. But it means that the amount of stuff that can happen in a game of Keyforge seems significantly more varied than the amount of stuff that can happen in your average game from another card game. So I've not tried judging Keyforge, I must be honest. I've judged other games, I've never judged Keyforge. I'm assuming it's a very difficult game to judge, but I have tried casting it. I'm doing it right now. I can assure you, ladies and gentlemen, it is an extremely difficult game to cast. But that's fun. That just, it just adds to the challenge of it, frankly. I mean, it's a wonderful, wonderful game. I'm giving up me Sunday morning here to sit and chat to you guys about Keyforge as we go. So, frankly, I must quite like this. Here we go. Right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back to Ben and Nacho. Ben on the left, Nacho on the right. We are capturing an Ember with Skeleton Key, it looks like. We've got a Magda the Rat down. Now, I'm looking for some confirmation as to exactly what happened. There is a 10-minute extension, but if anyone could give me any information about the ruling and what actually happened, that would be absolutely lovely. That would be cool. So, Nacho's got his Ember Imp down. He's got a Magda the Rat down now. He's got his Skeleton Key. He's not got enough Ember to actually be reaping here, unfortunately. But I'm sure he'll get there before too long. I'm sure he'll be fine. Ben, on the other hand, has not yet forged a key, so he's down 1 key to 0. And he's only got 1 Ember out. And this does happen sometimes, whereby if a player makes a mistake, and it's very easy to do, right? You're on stream, you're in single elimination, it's the first big Keyforge tournament. It's a really stressful environment. And we all make mistakes, but sometimes making a mistake can put you a little bit on edge. So hopefully Ben can recover from this quite nicely. Now, he does take down the Ember Imp there using his Tentacles, which is a great play, because, of course, Ember Imp is stopping him doing anything. Well, stopping him doing too much. It can play 2 cards, but no more. And Tentacles, of course, means your opponent must pay you an Ember to use an artifact, meaning that Skeleton Key capturing an Ember becomes basically irrelevant. Apparently, the board state was rewound. It was awkward because a lot was played, but apparently they were able to rewind the board state, which is really good. 10-minute extension, and I like that. Oh, we see a Fear coming down here. Return an enemy creature to its opponent's hand. I've seen in other card games before, games being decided with penalties and stuff, and I don't like that. I want to see the best players winning because they do well. And let's face it, right? If you've never made a silly mistake when playing a card game, you have not played enough card games. We finally see that Time Traveler coming down. So you get an Ember when you play it and you draw 2 cards. Time Traveler, one of the most hyped cards from the set, absolutely. And then we see a Twin Bolt Emission deal 2 damage to 2 different creatures. So one goes down and our Tentacus takes a couple of damage, ready to go down again in the future. Now we see a Dextra coming down. Lots of Dextra in the decks we're seeing this weekend. And then a Ganymede Archivist. When you reap, you get to archive a card. So a nice turn coming out from Nacho here. And just checking, saying, yeah, I do have enough to forge a key. Now, Ben's got to stop him forging a key here. Ben cannot let him go up 2 keys to 0, because there is a chance here that Nacho's going to start just running away with this game. And we don't want that to... Well, Ben doesn't want it to happen. I'm sure Nacho probably does want it to happen. So it's a bit of an awkward one here for Ben. He's got to stop Nacho forging. But similarly, he doesn't have any Ember. Nacho stole all of his Ember. Now, Witch of the Eye comes back again. Mermook comes back again. And then we put them back ready from exhaustion. But that's it. Not been able to stop Nacho forging a key. Oh, sorry, I'm being a real idiot. He has been able to stop Nacho forging a key because Mermook is down. And Mermook increases the cost of forging a key by 1. Nacho has 6 Ember, but because of Mermook, it will take 7 Ember to forge. So, no. No, he doesn't get to forge a key. That's good. So a Dominator Bauble comes down there quite nicely. That's the one that just lets you use a friendly creature. Now it says use, not ready in use, so they've got to be ready. And we see Fear coming down here to return an enemy creature to its owner's hand. And then we see... Ooh, Control the Weak. You get to choose which house your opponent has next turn, and you get an Ember bonus as well. That is a fun card for Nacho to be playing here. Really stop his opponent doing very much of anything, if I'm honest with you. And then it looks like... I believe that's a Shula that's just come down. If your opponent has 4 or more Ember, steal 1. They don't. Now, the good news is he's now up to 7 Ember, which is what he needs to reap with Mermook. But again, just like last turn, he's saying to Ben, you know what? Just stop me forging 1 Ember. Get rid of 1 Ember. If you get 1 Ember off of me, capturing, stealing, making me lose, it doesn't matter. If you can get rid of 1 of my Ember, I can't forge a key next turn. So, Nepenthe gets sacrificed for a second Mermook, and Ben's just doing what he did last turn. So it looks like Nacho made him go Untamed, and this is not ideal. Generally speaking, when you play Control the Weak, you want to really hurt your opponent. Well, your opponent just played a second Mermook, stopped you forging a key, and then did a bit of reaping. That's pretty good going. That's not the worst turn I've ever seen, ladies and gentlemen. That was a nice turn. I mean, for a Control the Weak turn, it wasn't a phenomenal turn. And it seems like on the other table, Rene has won from Ren. So Rene goes through. Ren's comes to an end here, unfortunately. Still, I mean, if you're making it into round 3 of day 2 after going 5-1 or better in day 1, yeah. So we do see Mermook going down there. So Nacho still not forging a key. And he won't next turn as it stands. He's got 7 Ember. Oh, no, so he will. He's got 7 Ember. He needs 7 Ember. So he's all right. He's not doing great. But he's up by 1 key. He is in a position to forge. And Ben still only has 3 Ember here. Still only has 3 Ember. If anyone's wondering why the timer went up, it's because we had that 10-minute extension I mentioned previously. So, Nacho is in definitely a dominant position here. He's, just taking out Mermook with Ganymede Archivist. taking out Urchin with Time Traveller. And now, 7 Ember, and he's actually got one more than he needs. And I think they're pointing out that Time Traveller couldn't knock out Urchin because he'd only just come into play. Or maybe he'd already reached. But either way, he wasn't able to take down. Oh, sorry, I'm being an idiot. Urchin. Urchin's got Elusive. So Elusive says that the first time you are attacked, no damage is dealt. So essentially, you've got to attack twice, and the first one doesn't count. So Time Traveller attacks Urchin. Good catch, Judge. I did not catch that myself. My apologies. Time Traveller does not take down Urchin. We are good. So, Ben here, I mean, someone put it in the chat quite well. Ben's struggling to survive. Ben is playing on the back foot here. He sees his opponent up by 1 Ember. Now, he plays a bait and switch, which is great. Stops Nacho forging next turn. But he's playing from behind. He's constantly stopping Nacho getting that second key. And look, he's done a great job. This is the 3rd turn in a row he has stopped Nacho forging that second key. That alone is a pretty impressive thing to be doing. Now, Magda the Rat goes and reaps here for Nacho, gets that 6th Ember. We see an Urchin coming down to steal an Ember, which stops Ben forging while also putting him in a position to forge. He plays Silvertooth, which of course comes into play ready, and then he immediately reaps with it to gain another Ember. Looks like Bad Penny's going to be hitting the field in a second. Bad Penny doesn't really do anything yet, but it's another creature on the field. There's a great combination with Seeker Needle and Bad Penny. Bad Penny's a 1-power creature that goes to your hand when destroyed. Seeker Needle deals 1 damage and gains an Ember if it destroys the creature. What's weird is that Ben's got 2 copies of Seeker Needle and Nacho's got Bad Penny, but neither of them have both those cards in their deck, which is a little bit weird. Not that weird, I suppose. But let's say coincidental. I don't think ironic is the right word. But coincidental, definitely. So, Nacho... I mean, look. I can tell you that Nacho has enough Ember to forge a key next turn. But I tell you that every turn. And it never works. So, the good news is Magda the Rat goes down. When Magda the Rat goes down, your opponent steals 2 Ember. When it plays, you steal. When it goes down, they steal. So now Ben, once again, stop me if you've heard this before, Ben is stopping Nacho forging next turn. That must be annoying for Nacho. Now we see Seeker Needle destroying the Urchin, and then of course you get an Ember. Now that's the other thing, Bad Penny can sometimes be a downside if your opponent's got Seeker Needle. Because what you don't want to do is put Bad Penny down, your opponent Seeker Needles it, gets an Ember. You put it back down, your opponent Seeker Needles it, gets an Ember. And so on and so forth. That can go wrong pretty quickly. Now, Ben's now got 9 Ember. And if Nacho can't... Oh, bait and switch. Bait and switch, ladies and gentlemen. So now Nacho ends up with 7 Ember. Ben ends up with 7 Ember. And we are absolutely rolling with it. Oh, bait and switch is such a good card. So we do see another creature coming down here, capturing 3 Ember. That is, of course, Old Bruno. Captures 3 Ember. Silvertooth comes down ready and reaps and gets an Ember. Bad Penny's being discarded. I think Nacho's realised, you know what? I just don't want to give my opponent a Seeker Needle target. Giving my opponent a chance to just get an Ember every turn, it's not good enough. We can't do that. I can't keep giving an Ember every turn. And that's the awkward thing with Urchin, because you play an Urchin, you steal an Ember, but then your opponent gets an Ember when they destroy it with Seeker Needle. Still probably worth doing, because you're still stopping them having the Ember now, ready for reaping next turn, or forging next turn, but it's not an ideal situation. It's not the best scenario ever. So, Nacho just having a quick look through the discard here. Like I say, at the beginning of the game, you see what your opponent's playing. So the theory is you look through their discard pile during the game and you can essentially see what's going on. What have they played? What have they got left? What options have they got? If they're playing one bait and switch and it's already in the discard, good. You're rolling. Lots of Ember Shards for first place. Yes, you get 500 Ember Shards. Over on the Fantasy Flight Games page, the European OP page, and also I believe in the Keyforge Facebook group, Alex Watkins did go and share just an image of how many Ember Shards you get and all of that. You get 15 for winning a game. So Ben having won 8 games, yeah, that's earned him like 120 Ember Shards. Plus whatever he gets for whoever he finishes. So, yeah, Ben, and the 30 you get for entering. Ben's getting a lot of Ember Shards, and Nacho's only 15 Ember Shards behind. Now, unfortunately, Ben finally was unable to stop Nacho getting that second key. And Ben has not forged a key yet. He's got enough Ember to forge, so he's just taking down Ember Imp using Time Traveler, so now he's not limited to playing 2 cards per turn. Now he plays down Dextra and captures an Ember. That's not enough. He plays down a second Dextra and captures a second Ember. Now it is enough, and now Ben's on the receiving end of it. Oh, and then we've got Help from Future Self, which gets your Time Traveler back while getting you an Ember. And in theory, you're going to be playing that. Now he is on a Logo's turn, so he's going to be able to play that, get another Ember, draw 2 cards. This is a good turn for Nacho. Let's remember, right? He was able to forge a key at the beginning of this turn. And then he's getting all of this done, and he stopped Ben forging. And when you've got the double whammy of I'm forging, and I'm stopping you forging, and I'm gaining a bunch of Ember, and I'm getting my battle line looking pretty good, Nacho is in the driver's seat. He is very much in the driver's seat. And remember, Ben's undefeated. Ben came into this round at 8-0. He had not lost a game of Keyforge this weekend. Okay, I cannot tell you whether he lost a game playing with his mates, but I can tell you that when it counted and when he was playing in the tournament, he did not lose. Also, Torch the Ponderously Immovable? That's a good deck name. Also, if you just cut it kind of halfway through, you get Torch the Pond. Don't torch the pond. Ponds don't burn. Ponds are water. So, here we come down with another one of those lovely shadows things that does damage. It is a booby trap. Deal 4 damage to a creature that is not on a flank with 2 damage splash. So taking down the Silvertooth here while getting the splash on the Dextra, trying to get them away. Oh, and then we see Relentless Whispers. Deal 2 damage. If they're destroyed, steal an Ember. And now Ben is once again in a position. He's got 8 Ember. Now he's able to use Seeker Needle to take down Dextra, get his Ember back, and gain an Ember because he played Seeker Needle. Then he reaps with Virgin to get himself another Ember, and he's got 11. Also, right, how great are the tokens we're using? They make perfect sense. I can see how much damage is on. We can see the keys. We can see the Ember, as long as I don't stack it. This is good. These tokens are great for streaming. Good work, peeps. So now Ben is finally, and you've got to think, now we know Nacho's played Bait and Switch. Bait and Switch is gone. He does play Effervescent Principle. Each player loses half their Ember rounding down, so it would cost him 1 Ember and Ben 5, although weirdly Ben would still be able to forge a key, which would kind of suck. Oh, you need to actually get rid of 1 more Ember there as well. There's no too much to protect with the shadows here on Nacho's side of the field. He's used his Bait and Switch. So, I mean, Effervescent Principle is his best shot, but he would then have to get rid of 1 more Ember as well. Now, it looks like he's using Dominator Bauble. Oh, using Dominator Bauble to reap with Time Traveler. But of course, you have to pay your opponent an Ember to use because of Tentacus. So actually, he just used Dominator Bauble to give his opponent an Ember. That's not probably what he wanted to do, ladies and gentlemen. I think he forgot about the Tentacus there. because that did not give him an advantage. Now, he does use Mind Barb to get rid of a card from his opponent's hand and get him an Ember. He also chucked down a couple copies of Dust Imp that gain 2 Ember when destroyed. We then see a copy of Fear to put one of those creatures back into your opponent's hand. And he could have played that earlier to get rid of the Tentacus before using Dominator Bauble. It's easily done, ladies and gentlemen. It's easily done. So he finishes with not enough Ember, and Ben goes, sweet, I'm forging a key. And he's still going to be checking at the end of next turn. He's still got enough Ember to forge. How cool is that? I mean, if you're Ben, probably really cool. If you're Nacho, probably a lot less cool. Oh, apparently Nacho's bait and switch is back in the deck because of help from Future Self. So, where are we to, ladies and gentlemen? What's Nacho's play here? Now, the thing for Ben is, Ben's actually feeling pretty good about that. Because Ben's thinking, right, I'm just going to be forging here, right? And going to use some Seeker Needle, get some damage down on the Time Traveler. Ben's now got 7 Ember, which is enough to forge. Nacho's not forging. If Nacho's unable to get rid of 2 of Ben's Ember here, he's actually... Well, Ben's going to even up the game. Now, there's another thing that Nacho can do here. Nacho can go, wait, I'm pretty sure Ben's played his bait and switch. Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong about that. I'm pretty sure he's done his bait and switch. So actually, what I can do instead is just go nuts with Ember. Just try and get as many Ember as I can and go, you know what, Ben? Forge your key. See if I care. I'm just going to get enough to forge. And that's one option you have. When you've got more keys forged than your opponent, as long as they've got nothing like bait and switch or effervescent principle ready to come out, you can just play turns where you go, I don't care what you're doing. I don't care what you've got on your side of the field. I am just going to try and go nuts gaining Ember. I'm going to gain as much Ember as I physically can. And just roll. And you do your thing and I don't care, because I've got enough Ember. That absolutely is an option, as long as Ben's played his bait and switch. And this is one of the reasons I love that you can look at your opponent's deck list at the beginning of the game. So, we've got a Logos turn here. Now, I missed what that was. There's a lot of glare on the screen here. Now, you do get it was an Ember bonus. Oh, and it's gone away. He's playing stuff that I can't quite make out what it is. It might be a Fogify stopping you fighting next turn. That might be what it was. Either way, he's up to 7 Ember, so he's looking good for next turn, which is nice. And then, and he's capturing with Dexter. Not enough, though. Oh, he's passing over. Ben's forging his second key. But remember, Nacho's got 8 Ember. If Ben does not get rid of 2 of those Ember or get a... Oh, he can't do it! It looks like he's conceding. Nacho forges his final key. And after all of that, after going 8-0, after stopping forging turn after turn after turn, Ben finally runs out of steam and Nacho goes forward into round 4. What an ending! Did not see that coming. Everybody's just sitting there, rolling and having fun, and then all of a sudden the game's over. Ben had so many answers for so much of the game, and then it just went. Well, that was fun. Hopefully you enjoyed it as well. I enjoyed commentating this Keyforge stuff. All of the rounds from day 2 are going up, so any rounds from day 1 as well, check the description. There are some over there. And do make sure that you keep coming back because we're going all the way to the final. For now, ladies and gentlemen, make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, and follow me on Twitter at @TheWossy, where we talk Keyforge and other games. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching Wossy Plays.